Be right back there, Rafe. I'm going to get some café. Pablo Mondragon. Paul Mondragon, welcome. Bank of America, creating a great space, amplifying Black voices. And today, on this very first day of February, we kick off Black History Month. And I'm going to provide some links. We're going to start out with a quick video, and then we're going to turn our attention to Rafe Martinez, Raphael Martinez of the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy. It's going to be a beautiful day. Look, we are here in the land of enchantment, the Tierra del Encanto, the 47 star on that beautiful flag of the United States of America, where we are not expecting 36 inches of snow like they are on that East Coast over there. Tell you what, they are getting pounded in the next 24 hours. So another great reason to be thrilled that we are people who live in the land of enchantment, the Tierra del Encanto. Good morning, Lynn Troyon. So great to have you with us today. Great to see you. Thank you for making sure that I put my attention and shine the spotlight on the great work going on at the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy and the incredible vision and leadership of Rafe Martinez. Dr. Roybal, thank you for the kind comment this morning. Look, if you will, allow me to kick off Black History Month. I got a lot of links for you today that are going to give you tons of resources as you try and center and think about how you might observe, celebrate, and lift up Black history as we all become a little more informed and sensitive to the important stories. I just want to say that when you hear out there, any kind of, what do you call it? Not rumors, but what do they call it? I don't know what the word is, but you know, sometimes you'll hear somebody say, well, you know, they gave them February, the shortest month of the year for Black History Month. And look, there was some intentionality associated with Black History Month being in February. And that intentionality goes back to President Abraham Lincoln and Mr. Douglas. Lincoln and Douglas' birthdays are both in February. One is on February 12th. President Lincoln is on February 12th, and then Frederick Douglass's birthday is February 14th. I think he's a Valentine's baby, and that was where they centered the conversation. And I think it was in 1976 or 79, President Carter designated February as Black History Month. And so we've been observing it ever since. Let me lead with a video that I saw a couple times now, and I'm trying to remember where I first saw it, and I'm not going to be able to tell you because I can't remember exactly, but it's powerful. It's 4 minutes, and Rafe has given me the latitude to share that with you this morning as we frame out today's episode of Cafecito con Colon. So thank you for joining me. Rafe, you can hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
All right, I got a thumbs up from Rafe. I'm already having a great Monday morning, and it is only 9:04. Here we go. Check out this powerful video, because this Black History Month will be a Black History Month like no other. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Again, this will be a Black History Month like no other. Thank you, Rafe, for joining me as we open today's episode of Cafecito con Colon. I will tell you that I did take note and remembered where I first saw that video. It was actually a couple days ago. Africana Studies typically hosts a breakfast to kick off Black History Month. And this year, the 36th annual kickoff was done virtually, kickoff brunch. And they had an incredible professor from, I think it was Cal State, somewhere in the California system. Her name was Melina Abdullah, and she gave a very powerful keynote address at that brunch. And my recollection is that's where I first saw that video. And so I hope you found it as powerful and as centering as I did as we enter Black History Month. And let me just be more precise. I mentioned that in 1976, I believe it was, President Carter officially designated February as Black History Month. The origins are correct, but they don't go back to 1976. They go further back to 1926. 1926 was when historian and scholar Carter G. Woodson chose February 7th for the first celebration of Negro History Week. So it was Negro History Week in its origin, and Mr. Woodson did choose February 7th based on the birthdays that I mentioned. So that's, of course, President Abraham Lincoln, and which was on February 12th, and February 14th, which is the birthday of Frederick Douglass. So it does go all the way back to 1926. It was a Negro History Week, and then in 1976 or 79. President Carter designated February as Black History Month. So I believe that Africana Studies hopefully will make that webcast or that Zoom meeting public, and you all can catch some of that. So with that, I am now at 9:10, which gives me only 5 minutes to put up all these awesome links. I already told Rafe the schedule, and I told him I'd bring him on at 9:15. We got lots to talk about the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy, his great vision, his great work, his deep impact, and the phenomenal leadership there. I want to say welcome to Ernesto Martinez, coming in from Condado de Santa Fe. Good to see you. The Honorable Candelaria Candy Patterson. Candy is a great leader in education. I actually should bring Candy on to talk about this, the next phase as we work to get our children back in the classrooms under a hybrid model, et cetera, et cetera. But Candy, thank you for your incredible leadership. Roz, thank you for yours. Roz, I think I owe you a phone call. Don't hesitate to call me today. Let's connect up. Carlos, good to see you this morning. Jonathan Jones and Stephanie Kazemchek, thank you for joining us. So many people on this morning. Great to have you with us on Cafecito con Colon. Let me take some time to put up a few links here on our links of the day as we get ready to start our show. And I'm going to lead with lots of items that are related to Black History Month. You will recall that Catherine McGill did a great job rolling out the Tiny Desk series that was a takeoff of the NPR work. Tiny Desk this month will have lots of great concerts on it featuring incredible Black artists, and I would encourage you to check that out. The New York Times has a great piece here, Honor and Learn This Black History Month. More than ever, this month is a welcome time for the education and celebration of Black American culture. And here's a great lead story from the New York Times. Good morning, Ashley Martinez. Good to see you this morning. Also, this is one that you won't find everywhere, but this is important. I was meeting with one of my mentees this morning at 7 o'clock. Nina, good to see you this morning and start my day with you. But we were talking about the overrepresentation of deep impact on unemployment of women in America and how this pandemic has not just had a deep effect on people of color and an overrepresentation of challenges for people of color and on the margins, but also it's been gender-based. And so these unemployment statistics really are phenomenal and very powerful and important for us to be aware of. So check that out. So you all know that our regulars on Cafecito con Colon, after the murder of George Floyd, on this show, we amplified Black voices for about 3 months and had amazing guests on this program. And you know that I fell in love with the work of Ibram Kendi. Dr. Kendi, you see his works here, stamped from the beginning, all his great stuff. And I've hosted different simulcasts of his work and his panels, but here's a great story from the Smithsonian. Kick off Black History Month with Ibram Kendi and Keisha Blaine and a host of other events. So you can check out the NMAAHC for talks, kids programs, artist meetups, and STEM Wikipedia edit-a-thon. And so there's tons of great stuff here for Black History Month, the museum of which Aleli and I are little tiny. I think we gave $100 when they were trying to do their original capital campaign. And so I gave a membership to my buddy, Tommy McKinney, and we bought a little virtual brick or something. But here's a great listing of all the things that NMAAHC is doing during this Black History Month. So check it out. Rafe, you doing okay? I'm getting ready to come to you. I promise. It's 9:14. I'm not going to be too late.
All's good.
All right, good. Couple more quick things. I want to give you the main landing page for the 28 ways to celebrate Black History Month as presented by the NAACP. And if anybody knows why leaders of the NAACP have gone to calling it the NAACP instead of the NAACP, is that just something that's happening or is there a reason for that? Anyway, that's just my own question of the day. All right, and then history.com, here we go. Let me give you another landing page here. There's so many great resources, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then I wanna give you the link to, and I'll close with this, totally unrelated, but something important to me, 10:30 today, 12:30 East Coast, Georgetown has this Catholic Social Thought and Public Life Initiative. And today they'll be hosting a discussion regarding President Biden, the US bishops, and Pope Francis, how to promote Catholic principles in a divided church and nation. As you know, President Biden is only the second Catholic to be elected president of the United States, he is a pro-choice Catholic. And so this will be a fascinating conversation. And then the blizzard, here's your blizzard stuff from AccuWeather, 36 inches, but not here in the land of enchantment. The Tierra del Encanto, the 47 star on the beautiful flag of the United States of America. We'll have a beautiful day right here in New Mexico. So Rafe, you doing okay over there?
Good.
All right, let's get started with Mr. Incredible. He is truly amazing. Hopefully you enjoy some of those links. Topher, thank you for hanging out and waiting. Look, everybody's just like, okay, Brian, enough of all that. Get to the meat today. Get to the meat. And I will do that. The last link of the day right there is our vaccine dashboard. You'll be pleased to know that now, I don't know how to explain this, and I'm not going to take the time to do it, but I will tell you that we're almost about 100% distribution of vaccines. It's a little bit confusing because they give us credit for the vaccines that we deploy, but they only count us for vaccines issued at a lower amount. So in other words, if they send us, say, 10,000 vaccines, they may only credit us for 9,750 vaccines because they're assuming some spoilage. So at some point, I think this dashboard is going to tip and we're going to be like at 103% vaccine distribution. And I know that that's going to confuse a lot of people, but that's the short of it. So for what that's worth, and if you're interested in that, but that was really kind of spectacular. We are in the top 5 states in the country for turning vaccinations into vaccines. So let me start out. Let me just say that, let me introduce Rafe and then we'll do a quick video, Rafe. There are so many great clips out there. If you just Google Albuquerque Sign Language Academy or Raphael Martinez, also known as Rafe, you will find tons of great clips out there, but I'm going to share just 2 minutes with you of a piece of a promo clip that was done by this incredible dual language charter school, the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy. But let me tell you about Rafe before I do that. He's got 30 years under his belt. In fact, probably a little bit more than that as an administrator, teacher, coach, and he is the co-founder and executive director of the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy. He's an incredible guy. He's married. He's got 3 beautiful children. He's got his daughter, Ariana, who is now 21. I know he doesn't look like he can have a 21-year-old daughter, but that 21-year-old daughter is an incredible servant leader who's got a distinguished journey already at 21. She's at the Air Force Academy up there in Colorado. His son, Ben, is 17. And Ben really, we'll talk about this, Rafe, as you're comfortable, but he really kind of is the personal connection to this incredible passion point that you have, because Ben has multiple special needs. He's deaf. He actually attends ASLA, the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy, and I know he is your heartbeat. And then little Max, who's 9 years old, and he also attends ASLA. But the beauty of ASLA, we'll get into here in the next 40 minutes. We're going to shine the spotlight on this incredible, inclusive, and one of the only in the nation of its kind, where they bring together those who have hearing impairments, special needs, who are deaf, along with those who have hearing. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful model. And Max also goes to school with his brother Ben there at ASLA. He's got a beautiful bride, Jennifer, who is instrumental in creating a school where deaf and hearing students could go together and become connected through a common language, signing. So look, that's a little bit about Rafe. If you Google him, you'll learn a lot more about him. There's tons I could talk about, but I think what I want to do is just start out with this quick piece of a great video, a larger video, but it's 2 minutes. And I think it talks about the importance, at least for me, the beautiful, beautiful, inclusive approach to education at the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy.
I have a deaf son and I have twins that are hearing, and we had to find a place that was a good fit for our family. It's amazing to me because now, even if they're arguing or fighting or laughing and joking, whatever it is, they're doing it in sign language, and Thomas is included and he's not left out. And this was the perfect place for our family because we can, explore both of their native languages.
The impact that our school can have with the deaf and the hearing world is that parents can come in and take sign language classes for free, which means that they can learn sign and communicate with their deaf children, or the deaf brothers and sisters can communicate with each other.
In order to empower the deaf community, really the idea is that you provide access for the hearing community to communicate with the deaf community, and that's going to give the deaf community access to the world and to resources that previously been denied to them.
We have to be able to respect each other and say sign language is okay, it's fine, and your spoken language is fine, But how do we figure out how to work together to have the best success and the best results?
The ASL Academy is where the deaf and the hearing worlds come together to become a big community and a system of support for students.
Now, how could you not fall in love with the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy after that awesome video? Rafe, I don't know whether that was El Guapo or Rafe Martinez in that video, but you looked pretty good in there, buddy. Welcome to Cafecito con Colón.
Well, that was about 12 years ago. So
Real
it's amazing how
jovencito.
the hair kind of goes with those 12 years, by the way, and the white and the beard. But no, Brian, thank you for having me.
You bet. You bet. I'm so thrilled you're here, Rafe. I have been a fan of yours for a decade or longer. And I just want to say thank you for your continued leadership. I know that that video shows all the beauty of what happens at the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy, but I also happen to know the pain points, the difficult journey that you've been on to create this incredible dual language charter school. And as you know, I'm a huge advocate for dual language education. My wife has got special certifications. My son has his international, or not international baccalaureate seal, but he has his bilingual seal from Albuquerque High School and reads, writes, and speaks in Spanish. And if you ask me, it's was able to get him into the George Washington school. And now he's a biomedical engineer who speaks in English and Spanish, thanks to that education. So that dual language learning is powerful. But in this case, it's not just powerful, it's about giving families and community access to one another when a huge portion of the community has been marginalized and in the shadows. And you've changed that. You've changed it, Rafe. I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy. Why don't we start with what drove you to that passion point? I know your story, but maybe you can share with our Cafecito colleagues. We got some great fans of yours on here. Dr. Gomez Chavez loves you to death. She's celebrating you. Jonathan Muniz, thank you for joining us on Cafecito con Colón. And El Guapo, take it away.
Brian, again, thanks for having me. And okay, so yeah, I got to tell you, thank you for the introduction. And I think it is a definitely my journey is very personal in that my son was born, like as you said, was born deaf, and prior to him coming into our lives, we had no connection into the deaf community, or even really, be honest, the disability community. So I was when Ben came to us, we were just thrust into this world where we didn't really know much, right, as far as education services, educational services, medical services. It was just something that kind of spur of the moment just was dropped on us, and we had to navigate it. And so I think to that, by that driver, we just started plucking away at all the things as they came up. And you know, and I think at the very beginning, we were holding on just because newborn, new parents to this little special baby, we had to figure things out. But as we kind of got our feet under us and then started to figure out, to see what was happening or maybe wasn't happening in the larger community, we by perfect storm elements, a lot of things came together, and we just decided, look, it's something has to change, right? This is historically, a lot of these type of kids weren't, they were kind of pushed to the edges. And so we ended up, at the time, the charter school movement was kind of at its apex, right? There were a lot of charters coming around. So we jumped into that pool, and working with some really smart people, we were able to create something that to me seems only common sense, right? Why should a deaf kid and a hearing kid not be put in the same space where they can learn together, work together, thrive together, struggle together, right? to me, that's just what family is. And so, and it seemed odd to me that that was not happening in the education, in the world of education, right? It was this idea of separate, you know, in the most historic sense, this New Mexico School for the Deaf, you know, had that model from the 1800s where kids who were born deaf were sent to a special school, right? So it was the idea that we would create an ideal around public education and inclusion where deaf kids and hearing kids could go together, no matter what assets or struggles, obstacles they may have. They're able to pull upon one another's gifts to work together and to come to some type of to work in a space where they could actually connect and move forward, right? So yeah, so that's how it happened.
And it wasn't totally foreign, because we know that for the last 20 years, we've been talking about inclusion, right? Curriculum and classroom inclusion for students with special needs. But you really kind of took that to a different level, because no one had really thought about what does that mean, not just with children maybe on the autism spectrum or things like that, because we talked about that inclusivity probably for more than 20 years, right, Rafe? The whole inclusion model. But it
Yeah,
hadn't really happened with those who were hearing impaired and then the deaf community, because it was seen as such a disconnect and such a break. And so what made the light bulb go off? Was it because you had two children who were developing in one way, and then of course you have your deaf son?
yeah, I think when we sat down and just know that this was a very grassroots kind of creation. This wasn't something where we, you know, talked to a deaf scholar and we were just like, hey, come to the house, have some beverages and cookies, and we'll figure out what if, right? The what if conversation. Why can't my hearing kid go to school with my deaf kid, right? Why can't my this and that? And so when we put it together, it really was very much a shot in the dark, right? Like it built on the ideal of what could be. And so so yeah, I think when we started, we had one idea, and we've held true to the vision of that purity, the purity of that idea. But as we've grown over the last 11 years, I think we've really learned a lot of how to do it, right? So the what was never in question. We wanted our kids to go to school together and be connected to family. The how has evolved over the last, you know, our existence. We're in our 11th year now. We've really figured out, we have connected to national experts, Harvard, Penn State, University of Minnesota, of course, UNM, to create something that does not exist in other places. You know, and
well, in fact, you were featured, and I need to put this link up, and I will do that, Rafe. But you were featured by this national organization that basically blew you up and said you were, you know, just cutting edge. You were getting it all right. And I'm distracting us a little bit with this great video that is kind of long, but it's just a beautiful montage of young people who are just talking about how powerful this school is and how powerful the platform is to have all these siblings be able to come together and actually learn how to communicate with one another in a very spectacular way. And I just wanted to share some of this in the background while we're visiting, because I do think that while I watched it, I feel like my heart grew, and I wanted our Cafecito colleagues to also experience that. But you've received that national acclaim, and as we get ready to celebrate Black History Month, which starts today, what I'd also like you to talk about is kind of the tapestry and texture that is at the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy, but it's there because the intentionality that you had 11, 12 years ago when you first founded the school in this you talk about it being an organic kind of coming together, but there was also some intentionality about the diversity that you have there at the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely, Brian, thank you. And yeah, so we got picked up by a foundation called the Century Foundation that runs, and it was just serendipitously kind of just rolled our way through weird connections. But I receive a phone call one day, says, hey, you don't know me from anybody, but we're this foundation out of New York called the Century Foundation that features 4 schools nationally a year under this umbrella. It's called Different by Design. And it's the intentional creation of schools who do things in a way that captures those marginalized populations. And so they were brought to us because of our disability population, right? So we hover somewhere between the percentage 65-67% of our kids are special ed, have special needs. And so, but so that's what brought them to our doorstep. But then when they actually got here and understood our minority populations as well, you know, we're somewhere in probably that same ratio, 65 to 70% minority, and then also our poverty factors, our Title I percentages probably in that same space, right? So we hit on all their little check boxes about, wow, these guys really are doing something with marginalized populations across the board. And so they came in and they did a week-long deep dive study with a professor out of Gallaudet as the lead researcher. Came in and took a look at all our systems, reviewed our data, and produced the article that you're talking about. So, you know, so succeeding despite some of these at-risk factors that were thrown our way.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Patricia Chavez wants to celebrate the Century Foundation for actually finding you and blowing you up. And Patricia is such a great leader when it comes to STEM work and the MESA program and all that is student mentorship and leadership. And Patricia is she's so incredible when it comes to the educational landscape here in New Mexico, being passionate about our communities of color. And so she celebrates Century for doing that. I did put the link to Century in there, and I did put the link to the gratitude video so that folks can watch that in its entirety. Go ahead, Rafe.
Yeah, no. So I think that what I felt affirmed by is not just the work, the heart of the work, like what you said. That's kind of in our tagline, right? A school with heart, but also I'm really proud of the educational program we're creating, right? I think it's robust. I think it's a place where all our kids, just no matter what assets they have or challenges, are pushed to their limits. And I think that's exceptional because, look, we have kids who are siblings of deaf who have gone through this program and now are valedictorian at the high school they go to, right? Like we're not shorting kids an educational experience in lieu of kind of being connected to family. That to me I think that's a profound statement, right? We want to be rigorous and heartfelt at the same time. And I think you can do it. Well, we're proving you can do it. So it's something I'm proud of.
Well, and you should be, and not walking away from the rigor while you serve that mission has been so critical to your success and why you've been celebrated coast to coast. And let's talk a little bit about where you are today and some of the areas where you're looking for growth. I know that you've really kind of busted through the walls, and I toured your facility a long time ago. That's when I originally fell in love with you and the mission of Albuquerque Sign Language Academy. And I know that even when you started, when I looked around, you didn't have a lot of space, and you were challenged back then, and now more so a decade later. Tell us about that and what the plans are, Rafe.
Yeah, so we're I invite anybody to come, and that's one of the things we love to do is invite people just to show up on our doorstep. And we, you know, in a pre-post COVID world, we would love to bring people in to see the work, right? So we exist off of 7th and Lomas in downtown Albuquerque. We are in an old county office building, right? We have now we're up to 111 students. You know, we share the playground down the way with Lew Wallace Elementary, one of the APS elementaries that allow us to use their facility for recess, things like that. But yeah, we're making it work despite some of the physical challenges of just living out of an office space. So in the hopeful next phase of our evolution is we get into we're trying to build a school, a real built for kids school, not just an office building, right? So in partnership with the Bernalillo County, who's been awesome, by the way, they've been there with us since the very beginnings of the school. We're hoping to move forward in that partnership with them to construct a school on county property where we would serve all the kids in the entire county like we do now, but do it do more, right? Do it and increase our population, build out an adult workforce development program, which is already in its beginning stages with us. You know, and I think it's really important that, you know, I will say this about the hopeful like path that we follow. Look, I'm a native New Mexican. You are. Our hearts are here. I am a homer, and I don't apologize for that.
That's right. We're homers, and
Absolutely.
I don't become the Simpsons either.
Right, exactly. And one of the things that I think,
hey, real quick, Rafe, hold that thought. I tagged Julie Morgas Baca because she's a great advocate, great county manager. But if you had, and I know that all the county commissioners love you, but if you had one county commissioner maybe that's been your champion, who would that be?
Well, so
I'm throwing a curveball at you here.
Yeah, they've all been great, right?
Hey, Rafe, you should be in politics. Good job. Okay, go keep with your thought. Keep with your thought. Stay on track. We're talking about where you're headed now. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, oh no. So I'll get to. So let me just say this. So of all. Well, okay. Let me answer your question quickly.
Okay.
Okay.
I was letting you off the hook. I was letting you off the hook.
Look,
political.
all the commissioners have been great, right? But I got to tell you, because she represents the North Valley, Commissioner O'Malley has been amazing, right? And I'll just tell you, she's amazing in believing in us to serve all the constituents in this county. I believe that. I truly believe that. And so she has been part of the school for a while in that she understands our mission. She understands our dedication to that mission and the vision of the whole kind of thing we're trying to create, the complex of services. And Commissioner O'Malley has just been, she steps to us in that way, right? She understands that we really are pure-hearted in trying and wanting to serve the entire county. So, you know, so to that end, I'll say, if you're going to press me, they're all great, but Commissioner O'Malley has been one that is, she understands the vision, and she understands that we really are kind of, again, pure of heart in pursuing that mission. So
she's spectacular.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, so as homers, you and I, right? I think one of the things, there's two things that I feel really proud of being from New Mexico. One is I do believe that connection of family and caring for people who, you know, who sometimes are pushed away. I think that is a truly New Mexican trait. The other thing is, is the New Mexican connection to the land. And that's a thing that we are wholly invested in here at the school. So we have partnerships with U.S. Forest Service, Youth Conservation. We have this thing we call it the Honey Badger Conservation Crew. And it's something that we are so proud of. It gets kids out into the outdoors, gets their hands dirty in the dirt, fishing, taking samples of different, you know, kind of environmental things, testing things, wrapping trees so that the beavers don't eat the bark. Like our kids are doing real work in the world of conservation that I just think is so New Mexican. So in the next phase of us, in a place where we get to build the type of school that befits our kids and our mission, we're going to do it in partnership with the county so that our kids are embedded in things like 4-H and the county's Grow the Growers program, so that we can leverage those things for our kids. So I'll just leave it at that.
I love that. I love that. Should we talk a little bit about, I don't want to miss the opportunity to let our Cafecito colleagues and our Cafecito crew, my extrovert therapist, this all started out as extrovert therapy for me because I was going to go crazy isolated in my home. And so I'm grateful to all the folks that tune in every day to join me. It helps me stay connected. But I know that in that expansion mode, and as you look to the future, the next phase or the next chapter of Albuquerque Sign Language Academy, resources are always an issue. And I know that that the community is able to help you in that way in some sense. So can we talk a little bit about that, Rafe?
Absolutely. No, thank you for that. So, you know, so we've been working really hard to put ourselves in a position to leverage dedicated state funds for public school facilities, right? And so we are now.
Let's be clear. You're chartered through APS, right?
No, we're chartered through the state.
Okay, excuse me. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. So we are our own island. We are on our own, right? So we don't have an infrastructure like a big district. We have the state, you know. So we put ourselves in a position through the triggers that the state has around public school facilities, to be ranked number 2 as far as need in the country, in the state, sorry, and that puts us in place for a match grant from the state to build a facility. So that's really good for us. So, but that said, we still have to raise millions of dollars to engage that match, right? So we're working with various people, Lynn Troyan being one of those, who's awesome, by the way. And if anybody knows her, can't speak highly enough about her, but to put ourselves in a position to raise enough money so then we can actually go out for a loan for the remaining amount of the match to engage the state. If that makes sense. I know there's a lot of moving pieces in that, but the hope is we can do it sooner rather than later, break ground, and then continue on that trajectory of putting New Mexico at the top of the educational heap nationally, right, around the stuff we're doing. That's really something as a homer. It's something that means something. That means something to my heart, right? That we're leading the nation in education. That's something I think that I don't know, I take pride in.
Sure, as you should. So look, if you want to join this incredible movement that's been, spotlighted coast to coast, whether it was the HuffPost during their Listen to America tour. I'm going to put that up right now because I particularly love that series. And you were featured in their Listen to America road trip that came to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it talked about, it opens the story with saying, hey, you may know Albuquerque, New Mexico through Breaking Bad or In Plain Sight, Better Call Saul, Cops and all that. But there's something else going on in Albuquerque, and they featured your work. And I just so appreciated that and think it's a beautiful, beautiful piece that highlighted the good work you're doing. If people want to kind of engage with you or find other ways to make a difference and join in your mission, what's the best way for them to reach out to you? And I know you're all about impact. I mean, one of the things that I really was honored to be involved with was the Albuquerque Community Foundation's work as it shifted to impact investing. I was a trustee of the Community Foundation back then, and they've done a great job of really being very intentional about impact. And I know that you literally have a landing page. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, you have a button on your homepage about community impact, and you talked a lot about the Honey Badger Summer Conservation Crew and some other programs. How do you feel like you have been intentional in that impact piece for community?
Well, look, I'm a wholehearted believer that the school should be embedded in the community in which it exists, right? Like they should not be a one-off as to this is the community and this is school. They should be this, right? So everything that we do around the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy is how to make sure that our kids are engaged in the world and that we're welcoming of the world to come into our space, right? And I think we have already gone through RFP in the new building with the new building, and so we have been working with designers. The design that we have is basically it's the creation of a facility that is accessible even during the day when kids are in school. So it's phased out. It's built like a community center, so that when kids are in school, there's a space of the building, part of the building that is accessible to the outside, so they can get services, learn the language. By the way, come and take classes from the sign, so that they can engage with our kids. And then as the school comes to the end of the school day, right, as kids kind of finish the day, the community would be invited to be part of everything that we're doing, from our sports to our activities to maybe giving classes around whatever, right? That's my vision around being intentional about being connected to the community, is about making sure the community understands we want them in our space. It's not about going through security systems to see if we can use the gym for something, right? It's about it's built for and by the community to be used by the community. So
I love that. It is all about community for you, and you've always been that way. And let me just amplify. I don't think I've ever done this, but this comment was just so awesome because it speaks to so much of what makes me endeared to you, and the idea that as you are a homer, we talk about the brain drain and we talk about people going away, and you have just dedicated your lifetime to this work in education. And Paul Mondragon at Bank of America says, I've known Rafe since our years in Mesa at Valley High School.
Paul, yeah.
a fellow Viking there. And Paul says this about you, Rafe. His raw intelligence, coupled with his humility, made him a great friend to all who knew him. I'm not surprised at all that his focused intellect and heart have brought about something both innovative and inclusive for the people of New Mexico. So proud of you, my Valley brother. I mean, that is high praise coming from somebody who, like you, commands great respect in New Mexico. And I just thought that encapsulates, it says it all, Rafe.
Well, Paul, to my heart, man, thank you. And I don't even know what to say, but yeah, Paul and I were at Valley together back in the day. And so I got to tell you, Valley to me, as so many other communities in across the state, right, is all about that same, I guess that's, if I were to declare a theme for this interview, Brian, it's about that whole idea of New Mexicans being just empowered to be about New Mexico, right? And I to me, my wife's not from here, and she's like, New Mexico, she'll have her grumblings, but to her heart, she understands it. She gets it now, right? And I think she understands what makes us great. And I got to tell you, what makes us different. And one of the things that bothers me around some of the national stuff is that we get compared on metrics built on not us, right? Statistics and everything that is not us, where we flourish in spaces around community and relationships and respect and things like that, we don't get credit for, and the land and all those things. And I think it's really important that we own what we are great at as New Mexicans, and Paul and everybody that went to Valley, I think they understand that, as everybody, as a lot of people do, by the way. Not just Valley.
No, well stated. And I forget that Lynn is also a Valley Viking.
That's right.
So there's a trifecta of Valley graduates right there. Paul, Rafe, and Lynn. That is a trifecta. We ought to just create some kind of celebration surrounding the three of you superstars for Valley. And you know what's fun is you were talking about the history and the differences and what makes us different. And what's his name? The kid that never gets old. I swear I grew up watching Raphael watch it, or maybe it was when I was a kid too, Saved by the Bell. But what's his name? The little Hispano dude, Lopez.
Mario.
Yeah, Mario. So Mario was in Santa Fe this weekend.
Oh.
So he was doing a what do you call it? They were looking for, when they look for locations, location site plan, whatever. I don't know anything about film except that I love film in New Mexico. It's a bright spot on our balance sheet. I love IATSE. I love the film sector in New Mexico. Thank you, Netflix, for believing before others did. You knew that New Mexico was the #1 place to do films in the world. Right here in the land of enchantment, the Tierra del Encanto, the 47th star on that beautiful flag of the United States of America. But what I was going to say about Mario was Mr. Lopez was, and you know what, he was doing his little Instagram or his Twitter feed, and he's self-shooting, and I was like, dude, that's how you looked in Saved by the Bell. The kid doesn't get any older. But he was just talking about the beautiful history of our state, that we're the, he was talking about the capital and the history of our beautiful land of enchantment. And we are different, and you have been able to embrace those differences, the multicultural, beautiful community that we have in our 2.1 million New Mexicans. And you found a way to create a platform where you could be even more inclusive for a community in some ways that is even more marginalized than some of those others that we talk about. And those are those who can see but can't hear. And I just appreciate that so much. My father had a disability. He passed at the young age of 49 from muscular dystrophy. And so I know what barriers are out there for people who have different abilities. And you have removed so many of those barriers, but in a very significant way, you've brought us into their world as opposed to forcing them into our world, because we are one community. And I think that's super special.
Yeah, you captured exactly kind of what we're trying to do, and is this idea of creating a bridge between two separate worlds, historically separate worlds, into one, and the common denominator in that is a common language, right? And so we do offer community classes here at the school. Now during the world of COVID, we're doing it virtually, but hopefully that'll break soon and we'll be able to get back in person. I think Yeah, there's something to that idea of making sure that we are connected to everyone in our community, right? And I think there's a powerful element to that pursuit, right? To that vision of making sure that everyone has the ability to be a purposeful citizen. And I think to us here at the Sign Language Academy, it's that idea. Purposeful citizenship is a driving concept here at the school, and no matter what ability or challenges any kid has, like it's never a question that they can't be something great that makes Albuquerque just the place that we want it to be. So
I love that. Purposeful citizenship is a driving concept at the
yeah.
Albuquerque Sign Language Academy. I'm going to put that in the chat. That's really powerful. And I think we can all learn from that when we think about what does it mean to be a purposeful citizen? And you actually make that part of your core curriculum. And that engagement piece is so important. So important.
Yeah.
So important. Tell me a little bit, again, you've got 30 years under your belt. You've got this incredible passion point. You've got a 21-year-old out at the academy, the Air Force Academy. You've got a 17-year-old, I think, and a 7-year-old or 9-year-old, right?
Yeah. So the 9-year-old, yeah, Max snuck up on us a little bit, right? So but it was
That's
Ari.
impressive.
Yeah, it's all good. So Ariana is at the Air Force Academy. She went to St. Pius, and she was a good athlete. Let's be real. She the reason she's at the Air Force Academy, she high jumps for those guys. So and I'm really impressed with that whole system. Is very impressive once you understand what they're about, their ethos, the proclamation of their ethos, and then kind of the pursuit of their ethos is really. I've learned a lot, and actually I've learned a lot of the stuff I do here now is built on that whole the concept of what the service academies have been able to do and sustain for a long time. It's the military, I get that too, but there's a lot of things to that. And then of course the fact that I can bring my two boys here, they get to learn with each other, from each other, fight with one another like brothers should, right? And play with one another also. It means a lot, right? So all that to say, right? They're so far so good, I guess.
That's great. That's great. If folks want to get involved with you, Rafe, whether it's working with the free family classes that you have, the community classes, tell us about what the best way for that engagement point is.
Yeah. So
posted some links, but what's the best way for folks to engage?
The best way would be to get onto our website, aslacademy.com, right? And there's a community classes link. Just click on that, and that'll send you to an email. And they're going to talk with a lady. Her name is Rachel Messia. She's awesome. She's our community engagement coordinator, and she will reach out to you and get you anything you need. So whatever the question may be, whether it is about the sign language classes or the school itself, if you have a child who is needing maybe some special extra support or not, right? I mean, we have regular ed gifted kids. Like we run the spectrum of kids greatness, right? So if you're just interested in the school itself, clicking on that link will send you to Rachel, and then Rachel will just follow up and start the conversation as to what needs to happen to get you the information you want. So
I love that. Rafe, you've enriched me a great deal, and the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy is exactly the place for children, family, community, and possibility. And you have really embraced some great values. Those core values that you've embraced of impact and community really have been the difference. It's that inclusivity. It's that understanding that community really is, if we're going to be one Albuquerque, that means that we have to bring each other into one another's worlds so that we can have that joint perspective and that collaborative approach to mutual success. And that mutual success is what you bring to families and to individuals, both who may be hearing impaired and those who are not, and helping us understand what it is to live in one another's world. And so I appreciate that so much. And I've posted the link there that talks about ASL resources, ASL classes. There's a link there that says contact us to learn more. And Rachel's email is right there, Rachel Rachel is very kind, and she welcomes that contact. It's rachelm@aslacademy.com for the community and class schedules, and you can just get on there and learn all about how you can engage with the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy, a place that's about to start writing its next chapter. Its next chapter because they've got that match grant from the state. They've got to increase their current resources on hand, because a match grant's only good if you get the match. So we got to lay that foundation, right, Rafe?
Well said. Yes, that's exactly right. We're trying to get that match going. So yes. So this is the sign for hope. Like hope. That's a great sign to learn. That's if I can hope. Yeah.
Is that right? Am I close?
Yeah. It's like kind of like waving your hands above your head.
I like that. I like hope. It's like the sunshine and the rays coming down on me. It's giving me hope. It's lighting me up.
That's right. So yeah.
We have a lot of hope, but we also have a lot of gratitude for the work you do and for the vision that you had to create the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy with other leaders in our community who had that vision to say that we can be one community and that we can take people from one world into another, so that we have more compassion, we have more empathy, and we have the ability to communicate with one another in a very sincere, humble way. And Rafe Martinez, you and Anthony Trujillo and Paul Mondragon and Lynn Troyan, you're all great Valley Vikings who have done your community proud. And I am just honored to know you. We've got some interesting questions in the chat about how the Yazi Martinez lawsuit impacts the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy. I know you're tuned into that. We don't really have too much time to get into it today, but I do want to give you an opportunity. We've got a few dozen folks who have tuned in that weren't here at the front end of this episode. And I'm going to close today's episode with a 90-second video. Again, we open with Black Lives Matter. We're going to close with Black History Month and a quick 90-second video. But I want to give you a minute, Rafe, to close with your message of hope and your vision for the school and anything you want folks that have tuned in today to Cafecito con Colon to know about ASLA.
Whew, okay. So quickly, just on the Yazi Martinez thing, real quick, it does pertain to us. There is some pronounced inequities that we are hopeful to in the upcoming weeks as the session continues, right, to shed some light on some things, and hopefully not about in being any way disparaging of any other program, but in ways to help us continue doing the good work that we're doing. And I would just say this: I think New Mexico is a leader in education. Given that we focus on the things that make us great as a state, and I think there are some really profound things that make us that way, right? And it's around the things that make us better human beings, and live in a place that we can be proud of. A place like Albuquerque is it's special. So I'll just leave it at that and let you go with it.
Albuquerque is a special place. You've made it an even more special place. And I'm grateful for you, Rafe. You inspire me. The work that goes on in the beautiful, beautiful building of the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy inspires me. It makes us a better community. It makes us a more inclusive community. It makes us a community that is empathetic and that makes sure that we see everyone. The days of people being invisible and in the shadows, we hope those days are coming to an end, whether it be those who require additional tools like signing to communicate with one another, or whether it be our people of color who for far too long were not heard or seen. And we are going to continue to work to break down those systemic barriers that exist to having collaborative and individual success for all New Mexicans, all 2.1 million of them. With that, let me share this quick video as we kick off. Oh, and before I tell you, Rafe, tomorrow we're going to have with us Professor Sherry Burr, incredible leader in the African-American community. Wednesday, we're going to have the good Dr. Reverend Becknell talk about a historian and a living legend. He is the Southern Christian Leadership Council on the National Board of Directors, doing that work early. He's going to share some insights with us and some thoughts. We're also going to have with us this week Beverly is going to join us. Bev McMillan is going to join us on Friday. So it's going to be a great week of amplifying Black voices during this Black History Month 2021. On Saturday, join me for Khalil Ekalona, also known for No More Normal. He's got a great podcast, terrific guy. He's on PBS, KUNM, Khalil is going to light it up for us on Saturday. So with that, let me just turn to this quick video. We'll call it a day on Cafecito con Colon, and I'll see you mañana. Thank you, Rafe.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
This Black History Month is just a little bit different because we can see, everybody can see really clearly history coming full circle and history repeating itself, and how a lot of the chaotic moments that we would associate with the late 1960s are here before us once again. Dr. Martin Luther King's very last book in 1967 was titled, "Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community?" And I'm like, that's perfect, because that is exactly the question that we're contemplating now. We need to move forward, and we need to move forward with a new sensibility. We need to look very critically at every place that we've been last year, where we stand with race relations, with inequities in terms of income, and as Isabel Wilkerson would have it, a caste system that we've been carrying forward for 400 years. So we need to not think in terms of, oh, let's get back to normal, because normal, as defined by people in this country last year, normal did not work for African Americans. It more than likely did not work for Latino Americans, Asian Americans, and anyone else who was a person of color.
And indeed, we're all in it together. And I'm grateful for Rafe Martinez. I'm grateful to the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy for its impactful and incredible work for more than a decade now. Here's to the next decade being even bigger and better than ever. Thanks, Rafe.
Thank you, Brian.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
You bet. All right, my Cafecito colleagues, hasta mañana. Make sure you reach out to somebody in isolation today. Tell them they're not alone. Just like that video said, we're in this together. We'll get through it together. Thank you. Bye-bye.